In the previous session, I briefly told you what exactly is an operating system in terms of usable hardware it provides to an user and as a manager of resources. In this particular session, I'm going to tell you about what are the different services or modules or functions of an operating system. The first job of an operating system is memory management. For example, let us say I have written a program. That program cannot be executed until that program resides or is taken into the RAM or the main memory. So it is the job of the operating system to allocate main memory to my program or a process. A process is a program which is being currently executed by the CPU. Now, once my program is done running, that memory space is no longer going to be used. It is a job of the operating system again to deallocate or free the memory which my program was occupying in the RAM. Now, let us say there are 50 programs running in the main memory. It is a job of the operating system to see that one program is not going and writing into other program or is not occupying the area of the other program. So it has to keep track of memory usage, which program is using how much memory. There may be rules and regulations regarding that I may be using only 1% of the main memory. Somebody may be given a rules that only 2% of the main memory. All of these is taken care by the memory management module of the operating system. Now, sometimes I'm running say 10 programs, but I want to run the 12th and 13th and 14th and 15th. I have put a request, but the computer is not able to run because the memory is already occupied by existing pieces of programs. So what the operating system does is once the memory becomes free, it takes my requests and reallocates memory to my programs when memory becomes available. Now, the word process is quite simple. Any program which is being run or which is being attended to by the CPU or which is in main memory, you can think of it as a process. Process management is a very important function of operating system. Why is it important? Say for example, you're trying to two people are trying to use the printer at the same time. It is job of the process management to ensure that the conflict is resolved and one after the other gets access to the printer. Now, let us say I am trying to read or I'm trying to write a file, or two people are trying to write onto the same file. It is a job of the process management to synchronize that process of reading or writing so that errors do not occur. Now, when processes are running, the process may have just begun, it may be in error, it may be completed. So that status of the process is managed by the process management. Suppose while printing there is an error. So my process has gotten an error. That error message is handled by the process management, which indicates that while printing there was an error, try to fix it. And different programs or different processes in the main memory may need to talk to each other or communicate with each other. When they talk or communicate with each other, it is important that their working is synchronized. Let us say, for example, I write a program to add two matrices. So before I can add, I need to read matrice A and I need to read matrice B and then do the addition. I can't directly add the two matrices without reading matrice A and matrice B. So if there are two processes, one doing the reading and one adding, the adding cannot happen before the reading. So such a synchronization is also managed by the process management. Now, if there are conflicts, like as I told you, two people are trying to print at the same time, three people are trying to write onto the same file. Obviously, if everybody tries to write at the same time, that file is going to have inconsistent data. So such conflicts are resolved by the process management. Now, whenever a user requests to run a program, that program first needs to be given time of the CPU to execute that process. So you take the program, convert it into a process, give it CPU time to execute, and once the process is successfully done executing, delete that process from the main memory. If there is an error, flag that error to the user so that he or she can correct that error. So it's the job of the process management to halt a process, to stop a process, cancel a process, resume a process, and so on. What do you mean by scheduling processes? Let us say we have 50 people using the system. 5 people's work is very important. So what happens is they may be given certain priority. So when the work from 5 people comes in, the scheduling rule may say that the CPU should attend to these 5 people before it attends the other 45. So there may be certain rules and regulations. Based on the certain rules and regulations, the computer processor is allocated to different programs or processes. So scheduling processes is based on certain algorithms. Algorithms means certain rules or method of problem solving. Say for example, if there are 50 people and I am giving everybody equal time, then it's very simple. I give 1/10 of a second to everybody and I keep rotating between them. But suppose I say 10 people get priority. So if those priority people submit some work, I need to stop attending the others and work on the other people. Now, let's understand what is device management. Computer is just not the CPU. It consists of the printer, the keyboard, the scanner, the hard disk, and so on. Memory also is an example of a device. So in order to read to that device, write from the device, see if the device is working, if there is a device error, monitoring the status of the device, all this is done by the device management module of the operating system. So what it does is, there is a software called as a device driver. Through the device driver, the device management module of the operating system talks to different hardware devices like the keyboard, monitor, printer, scanner, and so on. So what do you mean by device management reading? Say for example, if it has to read from a hard disk, it uses the device driver software to read a file from that hard disk and give it to the user. Suppose while printing, the printer paper jams, that again is monitored by the device management and it flags an error so that the user can correct that particular error. Now what is file management? We all create files, Word files, Excel files, and so on. So first time when we are creating a new file, we click on file new. So this file management allows us to create new files. If you are not using a file, we can delete the file. We can create folders which are known as directories. Some files, suppose 50 people are using 100 files. Now all 100 files may not be permitted to use by all 50 users. One or two files may be very confidential. Only one or two users are allowed to use. All this security and access management is mentioned by file management. Now, when I'm creating a file, space has to be given on the hard disk. That space is again allocated by the file management module of the operating system. It maintains backup of important files. It sees that files are not tampered with by having security on those files. So all these tasks are done by the file management. Now let's take a look at the last function which we are really interested, protection and security. Let us say 10 people are running a program. 10 people are connected to a central computer through a dumb terminal. Dumb terminal is a computer just having a monitor and a keyboard. Now when we submit a program, it is the job of my program to not interfere with your program, or your program should not interfere with somebody's program. So this kind of protection and security of each user's data and program, or it should not allow me to read your data. This kind of software is referred to as the protection and security management software of the operating system. And suppose I have a server, suppose I may have an airline server, it should not allow anybody to log into that and delete files or enter data. So it authenticates users through user ID, password, and so on. As well as certain files may be read only, so it should not allow me to write onto that file. Certain files may be denied permission, it should not allow me to see those files, and so on. So certain files you have to see that it is security is done, that is through a thing called as encryption. Encryption means you're changing the symbols. A can become X, X can become Z, and so on. So when I read the file, it is like meaningless garbage to me. So protection and security is also responsible for taking backups and maintaining security of access to the computer as well as all the different resources of the machine. So I hope with this I have just given you a brief idea of what are the functions of an operating system.